If somebody's had the yellow brick road and that's all they've ever walked on, you're never going to know if you fall off that yellow brick road and you hit that ditch, what do you do now?
Welcome to Motion Matters, where we shine a light on the entrepreneurial journey, sharing real stories of triumph and challenge. Guided by Jamie Tilka, we connect, inspire, and educate. This is Motion Matters.
Hello and welcome to Motion Matters. This is the entrepreneurial podcast where we take a deep dive into the entrepreneurial journey of fellow entrepreneurs, the trials and tribulations. Today, I got some guests on here that I'm super excited about. Jimmy and Stephanie Thorpe. We first met, probably close 3+ years ago. We met at a fellow real estate investment meetup down in Charleston, South Carolina. Connected. We were just entering into the boutique hotel space. They were entering into various multifamily deals. And so we connected and super excited to have them on the show, share all their experiences. So with that, I'd like to say welcome Jimmy and Stephanie to the show.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us, Jamie.
Yeah, man. Super excited about this one. Yeah, let's start it off with the stereotypical one that I do, which is to ask you guys to just kind of give a little bit of background about yourself, what you did before you kind of got into this current entrepreneurship that you're in, and kind of your transition into it. If you could give us some background on that.
You going or I'm going?
I'll take it. Yeah, we were builders early on. I was a builder. Stephanie was a building inspector. Worked in the plan and zoning offices and all the government offices. We got into the restaurant bar business like 2006, 7. On a few of those, had a land clearing company on the gym. We had some single family rentals, and then along the way, I started watching these Grant Cardone videos about thinking bigger, and I always thought that it was out of reach for us. And anyways, just started watching those videos and learning more about the syndication model and partnerships, and to think bigger. And we started joining groups. That's where we met you.
Yeah. I'm going to go back. I'm going to ask a few questions just to try to shape it out a little bit more. So you got in the bar and restaurant business. You said you were general contractor before that. You did land clearing too. Was that all as a W-2, or did you guys own those businesses?
I could go way back. So my dad was a contractor, and so I wanted to get away from the contracting world. So I started welding. I took up welding back in high school. Had some after school. Had some W-2 jobs welding. Left that to try the land clearing company. This whole time Stephanie was a stay-at-home mom. So at that time, land clearing company had crashed and burned. Long story there, but we were just way too young to be in. We were 20 years old. Went back to work as a welder. Then I started building our house. We dug the foundation. We framed it. We even being from the contract world. So, but we built our house. It kind of escalated us into building other houses, and so we left the W-2 world and worked for ourselves. As far as being a contractor.
The land clearing company was your own business, and you said it crashed and burned. So was there hesitation when you went back into the small business entrepreneur world? Because there was a middle ground there of you working a W-2 probably to make ends meet and stuff, correct?
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna say hesitation. I know Stephanie can weigh in on this because we had a long conversation about it. But I burned the candle at both ends for as long as I could, and then it was time to either go all in on one or go all in on the other.
What's your perspective on that, Stephanie?
I had hesitation. I don't come from the same family background as Jimmy does. So Jimmy's family has always owned their own businesses. They never worked for anybody else. So they never knew another world. That's the only world he'd ever known. I'm not like that at all. I come from the family where you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you work that job hard, and you save your money and you retire. And then maybe you can do what you want to do. And that's kind of that's how I was brought up, for the most part. And so we come from completely two different backgrounds. So when Jimmy was like, "Oh, I'm ready to go again. I'm going to quit my job," I was terrified. We had two little kids, and I thought, "Oh my God, well, we failed the first time. What's going to keep us from failing the second time?" And so I think that was our saving grace, is the recognition that we failed. We failed fast, but we failed hard the first time. But it was the recognition and the communication between the two of us that said, okay, we know we failed. So how do we keep that from happening again? Where did we go wrong? What do we need to change before we start this next road? And we put things into places and grew and grew and grew. And so when it came to the point that he said, okay, I've got to quit my job, I was okay with taking that road. I remember sitting on the front porch and having an hour-long conversation about what we needed to do and how we needed to do it, and doing it.
So it sounds to me like he was still working the W-2 job while building that business behind the. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. And so then when you got to that point, Jimmy said it's time to poop or get off the pot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay. Roughly what year was that?
It was 2004 because Grayson was born.
Yeah.
So
okay, yeah.
It was winter 2004, spring of 2005 was our second huge life change.
Okay. So 2004, 2005, you guys are all in on your builder's business. So I'm assuming that 2008 had an impact on you?
Actually, no. Complete opposite.
It didn't too much.
I've told this story. So from the new construction, right? Like died. Luckily, fortunately, whatever word you want to use, we were in a position at Key West, Seabrook Island, which is really high-end houses. So 2008 to us was the best thing that happened to us as a contractor, because that got rid of all the guys that really shouldn't have been in business anyway, and we exploded. New construction stopped, but we exploded with really high-end renovations. We did, like, average renovation was probably $800 to $1 million. So we did really well. Our best years in business ever was 2009, 2010 was our best years ever.
We also knew what was coming, and we could see the changes happening because we could see it affecting everybody else. So we were cautious and careful with what we were doing and how we were doing it. So we pivoted at the same time. We were doing well, but we pivoted to protect ourselves in case it got worse.
Can you expound a little bit on what you're referring to, though? You saw kind of what you saw coming at that time.
Yeah, so the housing market crashed.
Right.
And it was, I'm not going to say it was overnight, because you could see the bubble. You could see the bubble getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually the bubble has to pop. So when the bubble did pop, it changed very quickly.
Okay.
And to prevent us from losing anything and to make sure that we were on the right path, we decided to pivot at the same time. And so that's when we got into the bar business. And you may want to cut this out later, but if there's anything that sells during a time that nothing else sells, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So
no, we're keeping it real. Let's go.
So rather than drugs, people are always gonna drink. There's always gonna be a bar. That there's a reason for that. So we put our bets on the bar, and it did better than we ever dreamed of.
So did you shift out of building 100% at that time?
No,
we kept going.
Okay, so you started the bar business.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got in the bar business in 2006, 2007. But from a contractor standpoint, we exploded during that time. We grew the contracting from in 2007, 8 from our contracting. We were building, let's call it 15, 20 houses per year, and we saw the gradual coming down on the contracting. So then we started doing renovations, additions, and we opened the bar at the same
Mm,
time. So we wasn't counting on the new construction anymore after that. We was counting on the renovations and additions on the higher end homes that could afford it. Your average middle class people,
yeah.
they lost their jobs. But like Stephanie said, the bar business, we opened one in 2006 or seven. We opened the other one in 2009, yeah, 2009. So, right there in the middle of all that. So, yeah, I mean, we went from like 15 employees in 2007 to over 70 by 2010.
How long did the bar business go, and how long were you overlapped with the renovation / building business?
Until Stephanie got what's the word I want to use? Um, and till she had
Pissed
enough,
off?
and till she had enough of all of it. She said, I've had enough." You know, we had she explained this to you better than I can, but just back before all the cloud based stuff. So when you have $10,000-15,000 to batch out at the end of the night, and when you two bars and I'm at one, she had to load the kids up to go to the other one at 2 o'clock in the morning to get on the phone or to meet the credit card guy there to try to batch out. And that's what she said. I had enough.
Yep.
I had enough. She said, I'm done with all of it. And, so within 90 days in 2011, within 90 days, we sold both bars, the retail store, and we wrapped up all our projects. Within 90 days, we were 100% done with everything. Um, within 90,
What year is this?
2011. Um, so we kept her place out in the country. And she said, I'm going back out to the farm. If you want to stay married to me, you can come. But I've had enough.
You put your foot down, Stephanie?
It was, like I said, we pivoted and we knew it was coming. So we we separated all of our eggs and we said, we're going to do these baskets because we need to make sure that we're going to be profitable. So we said, something is not going to do well. So we're going to put our eggs out there and, to our surprise, everything did well. So then everything was booming and we did not anticipate that. And there's only the two of us. So we grew so fast, we couldn't grow with it. Like it shot up overnight. So it was really hard for us. And if we'd had like the years of experience like we have now, we could have put people in places to make that, a little easier for us.
Oh man, yes.
And so we were young and stupid, and once it got to that point, and like Jimmy said, I literally 3 Saturdays out of a month at 2 a.m., I loaded my babies up into my car and drove up to the bar and parked at the back of the bar with the door open so that I could lock my babies in the car and then still see my car and go inside with the credit card guy so he could fix our credit card machine so we could batch out.
Dang.
And that third time was it. I'd had enough, and I wasn't. We're not those people. Like, we're very family oriented people, and we believe in hands on. And I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I said, I'm just done. Like, I'm done. I'm gonna sell the bar, and I'm gonna sell the house, and I'm gonna go back home. I've had enough. So We did, and it was actually, I mean, it was really nice. Like neither one of us worked for
Yeah, yeah, for a while.
a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask. So I have so many questions, but I also want to make sure we leave ample time to get kind of into your current stuff because I think that's interesting as well. So we're sitting at so right now we're at roughly 2011. You guys, I'm going to simplify it and saying you guys cashed out. So from 2011, I met you guys. I believe I met you in. I can't remember if it was before or after the pandemic.
It was
I think it was probably
2021 is when we met.
okay. So what happened in that 10 years? Because from what I understand, you were just getting in there, maybe a year to 2 years before I met you, unless I'm off.
Well, no, I mean,
Well, you can't sit still, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you can't sit still for too long. So we thought we're just going to retire. We're going to invest our money and we're
yeah.
going to retire. And then
So we had single family rentals at that time. Also, we were we were self managing. And after
How many?
that time we only had a three. At that time,
Okay. Okay.
where I sold some of the other ones, and we did flips and all
Mm-hmm.
also back before this. But I got tired of working in the yard. I got tired of fishing, believe it or not. I was going fishing all the time. So right down the road from us is this 20,000 acre plantation that the railroad owned. I said, they only pay like 35 grand a year. It's for hunting guides and the fishing guides, and you're basically a caretaker for the big plantation. So I told her, so I'm going to apply for the railroad caretaker job. And so I went to the interview, and and they had this big the video about the railroad, about the benefits and it's pretty cool. It's like wow, I had no idea anything about the railroad at that time. I didn't get that job because they had the interns that would get in, but so I applied for the railroad. This was late 2011, or 2012. I applied for the railroad. Um, ended up getting a job at the railroad. Like yeah, 2012. So I, I did signals where the lights, the gates flash, and all that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. I had the pickup truck get on the track. I mean, making the $36 an hour. And you can't tell me. I didn't have to go pay anybody on Fridays. I had the best job in the world. We all think that, that pickup truck that rides them the ride down the track. So yeah,
we enjoyed it.
it was a great job, but like she said, as an entrepreneur, I can't punch a clock, and it was really never meant to be a long term thing anyway. But fast forward 1 year, our oldest son got sick with leukemia. So I'm not real religious and think God, all this was God's plan, but it was like God said, hey, y'all got a big fight coming up. You need to get rid of all your stuff, your bars, your contracting, everything else. You got to get a job that's got good insurance because you got this fight coming up where you're gonna need insurance. And
Mm.
it was just like everything happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, I worked there for a little over a year when he got sick, and uh but then, there was no leaving. But how we got back into your contracting again, was when he got sick. We was around all these kids, the handicapped, whatever. So we started volunteering to do bathroom renovations, maybe, for handicaps and wide doors,
Handicap
build
accessible.
ramps,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it kind of escalated us back into building again. So we done some planned developments the whole time. I'm working for the railroad, and we're building houses on the side again. It was just like we'd already did early 2000s, and so anyway, it got escalated, and then you know we can go backwards, but I keep talking, but I don't know what the other question is.
No, that's good. You're filling in a lot of the gaps because I mean, it's interesting because again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show is when I've met other people, to include you guys, we all share our stories about like what was that pivotal moment or thing that changed. I mean, we have talked before, but I actually didn't know a lot of those details that so I didn't realize to Stephanie's point that you basically only understood entrepreneurship from, because to Stephanie's point, I grew up, very poor. Like there was no discussion about that. It was just like, hey, get educated, get a job. So the fact that you did that and then you stepped away and then ultimately you went back, I think it's super interesting. And also, there's a lot of struggles that you guys went in through that time. I mean, that we haven't even really dabbled into, because that's really what I want to get down to is like, when you hit some of those critical points, like how do you make that decision? So I mean, even right now, let's talk about the current one. So you got the job, you feel like potentially the stars aligned, things came together. You had this when your son got sick so that you had the insurance, so you had the stability. But what made you transition out of that?
I built a house for the devil. It was custom home building. I built a house for the guy, the surgeon, and I built hundreds of houses, right? And this guy was, oh my God, he was so awful. And the whole lawsuit involved in it, and he went license board, and it was just a nightmare. Hell, the house is all over your magazines. The house is beautiful. But what it come down to is he didn't like your punch list, right? And what he said was, how would you like if your surgeon had a punch list? And my answer to him was, I'm sure y'all do. Like right before you close up somebody, you make sure there's no gauze left in there, no tools left in there. That's your punch list
Mm-hmm.
for surgery. But anyway, after that, I told her, I said, I'm done. I can't do it no more. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm done. I'm just done. So that's when I started watching, the Grant Cardone videos and multifamily, and I got in that Jennings and them's group there where we met. But let's back up to 2013. So when we sold one of the bars in 2011, uh, we were still tied to that lease. How I have no idea. Well, I don't know how, but somebody dropped the ball. We were still tied. So the people that bought it from us, they weren't qualified for the lease. So we got
Mm.
served a lawsuit May 2013 of that, of being still tied at least because they 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 closed the doors. So they still had 7, 8 years left on this lease, which is 700, 800 grand or whatever it is. And
Wow.
yeah, and so they walked away scot free because they wasn't touching the lease, but well, we were, which again, another learning point from being in entrepreneurship that we didn't dot the I's and cross the T's. Well, we thought we did, and then lawyer did. So anyway, we got served that lawsuit May 2013. We started fighting it, and then July 2013 is when her son got sick, and so I went back to the lawyer. I said, look, my son's sick. This is what we're facing here. I don't have the energy to fight both of these. What can we do to make this other one go away? And, our son is our priority. And he
Yeah.
said, of course, typical lawyers said, we can beat this. He said, but it's going to take you a couple of years. He said, and he said they're not going to take, probably no less than probably 300, 400 grand buyout or payoff. So I said, what's the options? He said, I would file bankruptcy, but it was our personal name was tied to the lease. It wasn't just a business. And I said, man, I
Mm.
can't file bankruptcy, dude. I said, that's not who we are. And the lawyer said, look, he said, this is not your problem. It's not your financial obligation. You sold the business somewhere along the line. It wasn't recorded properly, so you're tied to it. He said, just file bankruptcy, focus on your kid, and anyway, we talked about it for like a week, and then we finally said, you know what, you, let's just file bankruptcy. So we filed Chapter 7, and it wiped all that clean, and so when I tell people we file bankruptcy, and automatically it's like a red flag, like, oh my God, but is but once I explained the whole situation, it's like, well, I guess, I mean, that makes sense. That was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you get back in the corner and you have something like that, I mean, we all know this, but I think unfortunately many of us have to be hit with those life altering situations that make you really contemplate what matters. I mean, I threw one at my brother the other day, and I was like, because they were going through some hardships, and I was like, look, if you legitimately knew you had 90 days to live, does any of this shit matter? The answer is no. Right? You don't even have to answer a question. It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation is blowing my mind, because your life is not worth that.
After something like that happens, your entire mindset is just like that. Like nothing is really bad. It's just not like I think that's the reason why we take what we do with a grain of salt. Like we're not afraid. We're not afraid. We're not, if it doesn't kill us, it makes us stronger. So we are like Superman on crack. Yeah.
I have a specific question for you, Stephanie, because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm listening to Jimmy, and I'm saying, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between Jimmy and I, and I'm just going to oversimplify it because for the sake of time, and just say that we have too many ideas and too many aspirations, and we want to go in 13 different directions, but there's only 12 parts of our body.
Yeah.
How is it that you deal with being his spouse?
I medicate myself.
Yeah. No, I'm serious. Like, listen, let me restructure the question a little bit though, because I really want to hear your thoughts on this. And that is like, when you're married to somebody who constantly has new aspirational ideas, plus all of these things, we had to file for bankruptcy. Our kids is, potentially deathly ill. We lost our businesses and all these things. And then he's like, I got a new idea. Let's do this. Like, I'm saying, how do you manage that?
I think it's just like, it's life, right? Like that's everything that you do, not just him. Like I looked at Jimmy for a long time. Like we call it his Rolodex. Like literally, it has a name. We call it his Rolodex, and it's literally like ding, whatever card the Rolodex lands on. But it's kind of that's his whole personality, right? That's who he is. That's how he works. So it's his thoughts, literally that is just who he is. And you cannot help but to love and admire somebody that truly has no off switch. He has no off switch. So once he has this, whatever it is in his head, he's like, we're going to do this. And to be around somebody like that it's inspiring, aspiring. I aspire to be like Jimmy. And
yeah.
he's truly like, yeah, I see you. He's truly, and I'm not trying to like be an anti-feminist, but Jimmy is truly the head of our house. He is truly he's the man of our house. So if in his world he thinks that this XYZ whatever, then I am behind him 100%. But that's not to say that if I said I wanted to, I want to buy a boutique hotel in the Caribbean, he'd be right behind me, So like
because you just gave him a new idea.
So it works both ways. It works both ways, and I truly appreciate the person that he is, because I'm not that person. Like Jimmy is the person with the wings. I am the person with the anchor.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, you just summed it up really well. And that's kind of what I was just wanted to hear your insight is because, I think that generally speaking, it is a positive thing too. M compliments me on the same thing, but I also know that she struggles with watching me. Just sometimes she's like, I can't keep up with it. Like it's crazy. And so, listening to you guys, I'm like, you guys are basically, we're two couples in two different spots, but doing the exact
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back, so all of that transpired, and then I'm guessing the whole like looking at the Grant Cardone thing and stuff and getting back into that was probably somewhere around 2019, right? 2018, 2019.
2018, somewhere in there, 2017, 18, somewhere in there, and then we started putting it to work in like 1920.
Dude, we're on the same timeline, man. Anyway, sorry.
We actually did a little bit of commercial renovation on some hotel properties, and it was historical renovations, and they were amazing, and they took forever. And we looked at. I think that was probably the light bulb moment is when we were doing those hotels, and we spent a lot of time doing them, and it was we got to know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we got to know the ins and outs of how that worked, and it was kind of like why are we doing this?
Yeah.
and they would show me what they were bringing in every day. It's like we got to be friends, and just curious. Say, hey, how was y'all's weekend? They say we had a $75,000 weekend. I was like, damn, you're not gonna make that in single families, apartments, and all that. And they had charts where they were last weekend they did 75,000. This week we did 64,000. And it's like why are we down $11,000? And anyway, it was just so we did a lot of that, and we always wanted to. Well, I say wanted to, but we always talked about it because the cash flow in the hospitality industry is a lot better than any other asset class that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, that's how we met, right? So we got down there, and I told you that I was building short-term accommodations for military personnel, and obviously then you guys reached out there shortly thereafter and said, hey, we're looking at this hotel down in the Caribbean. And much like Jimmy would respond, there was zero hesitation. I was like, when should I book the ticket? And you guys are like, December 1st, which is my birthday. And I was like, babe, I'm going to St. Croix on December 1st. So I want to dive a little bit into that because that's a bold move right there too. As you know, there's a lot of people that don't like the hospitality space because it's too risky, because, you can't get the same loan to value ratios on there because of the risk and stuff like that. So what's your experience been so far? Because I know there's a lot of rough roads to travel when you actually no crap run a business in which people demand virtually instantaneous responses. How's it been?
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's
Sometimes it's
you have to learn, like, what did you say?
sometimes it's an ass kicker.
Yeah, but we've learned the people that want the best deal, the people that are trying to get the best deal they can, they're the ones that's complaining, and because they're going to come here and they're going to complain. Can I get a free night? Can I get that gets old, but if you get 5 of them out of 100 good ones, I'll take that all day long. And from the staffing point, that's always whatever business that you're in. You always got to have good staff behind you. Down here in islands, that's been pretty difficult, but but we've been cycling them out. And I mean, they don't fit our values, they don't fit our work ethic. They're out. So but overall, man, with what we've done in this property in the last 18 months compared to what it's done in the last 10, 12 years is night and day.
And that's obviously increased the value of that property tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
In what? I mean, how long have you, since the closing time, what has it been? 18 months, 24 months?
19 months now.
Yeah.
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 19 months. We paid $7 million for it. Now it's worth of 14.2. We have it on the market for 12.5.
I'm smiling. You can't, this is why I tell people I love, look, I realize that value add properties are challenging, particularly probably now more than, pre 20, 21, I guess ish. They take a ton of work. I think they're brutal on your relationship unless you're going it alone, because it just never stops. Between the operations and the retrofitting or upgrades, whichever it is, you're going to classify that. It's brutal.
That's why I'm in St. Croix and she's in South Carolina.
There you go.
He fired me.
And what I told her is it's not fair. It's number one, it's not fair to us as a couple to live, work, play, everything on, and then we come back to this little room. Back home we have a 3,000 square feet home, and we're staying in here and stuff about our bedroom at home.
Yeah.
So it's not fair to her that I can't treat her as my wife here. She's like my work partner.
Yeah, no, we had to make that separation as well. So I very much understand that. I'm looking at the clock. We probably have about 5 minutes and I need to wind this thing down. We spent a lot of time kind of going through your history thing, but I think, again, this is why I love podcasting and sharing information of any types, is because your story is going to resonate with somebody who's going through very similar type of stuff. But I kind of, so there's more pieces that we could unpack on a different day, but I think I'm going to just transition kind of to just talking about, if you guys were sitting with, some people and they were debating on whether or not they want to get into the entrepreneurial space, even after listening to all your stories about the personal struggles and about the financial struggles and the bankruptcies and all of that stuff, would you or would you not tell them that they should become an entrepreneur? And B, if yes, then why?
I would tell them absolutely yes, but you get a coach. Don't try to do it by yourself. Mentor, coach, whatever the word is you want, because people like us, you and I, we've all been through it. So, if they can shadow somebody, but you have YouTube. I mean, the people nowadays have so much more information at their fingertips than what we have. We just have to go off in the idea and hope for the best.
I would like to hear your perspective too, Stephanie, on the how much value do you think it brings having a mentor?
I think it's priceless. I think that you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't have somebody, a coach, a mentor. If it was me, and let's say I wanted to open a shop that made hair bows. I don't know. If I wanted to open a shop that made hair bows, I would search the next state over or 2 states over, and I would find somebody that made hair bows, and I would connect with them and say, hey, I'm not going to be your competition anyway. I'm 2 states over, but I would really like to come and spend like several weekends with you and just watch what you do and see your systems. And like, I'll clean your house. I'll watch your kids while you're not there. I'll do anything that you need me to do if you will show me how to do what you're doing. And you'd be shooting yourself in the foot to not take the opportunity to try to learn from somebody else, and not just from somebody that has succeeded, because you need to know the failures. You have got to see, if somebody's had the yellow brick road and that's all they've ever walked on, you're never going to know. If you fall off that yellow brick road and you hit that ditch, what do you do now?
Yep.
Yeah, it's invaluable to have somebody else that's had struggles, and you'd be shooting yourself in the foot to not have somebody else help you along your way.
I always bring up this question because the first time that I, saw some of the price tags of joining a short-term mentor group or something like that, I'm not going to lie, like yeah, I had sticker shock because I had never, and I was not looking at it as an investment at that point. It was an expense to me. I was like, dang,
Yeah.
I don't want to spend $2,000, $4,000. But, when I finally pulled the trigger and went there, I was like, holy crap, I wish that I had done this earlier. So I appreciate both of your guys' perspectives on that. We've ran out of time really quickly, so we'll have to have another conversation. But I mean, I know we're closing down, but I was going to say this earlier, and you just reminded me. I mean, one thing that's impressed me about you since the day we met is I was like, Jimmy is shucking and jiving 24/7. I'm like, this guy is finding more deals, than you can shake a stick at. I was like, just blown away. And I was like, dang, man, I think it's paid dividends. You probably have to deal with a little bit of crap, but I think it's paid dividends that you're always out there constantly trying to network. Cause I definitely think that's the most vital aspect of building any of this is your relationships. I mean, connectivity is everything. I'm going to close this down. I want to thank both of you guys for taking the time to sit there and come on and have this conversation and sharing your story. Again, my whole point of doing this is just to hopefully inspire other people to take that leap of faith. I'm absolutely amazed at how many people will never take that step to potentially build financial freedom and just freedom as a holistic view for themselves. So thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing all your guys' experience.
Y'all too. Thank you.